Welcome back to another episode of Timeout with Makali. I'm your host, Makali Pennycook, tuning into another episode, and I cannot wait to dive into another fantastic weekend of the NFL. Some great wildcard games. Well, not so great, but there was really one good, exceptional game, especially talking about the divisional round, what's coming up the next couple of games. Talking about these birds. And the national championship game upcoming next Monday. LeBron James playing at a ridiculously high level at 40 years old, and how bad the Lakers are. And comparing the Cleveland Cavaliers right now, the 2024 Cleveland Cavaliers, who are the number one seed, to the 2015 Warriors. And we're just discussing the NFL MVP pick, who I think is the NFL MVP, and the end of the show, the top 5 of the week. Let's talk about the NFL wildcard games. There was a lot of interesting games going on for this past weekend. It was just a few. The games weren't all that fantastic, but just a level of, craziness, and what we saw and what I thought, especially with my Eagles and everything else, and, what will be coming of the divisional games. I thought I expected to have it go except for maybe like 2 games. The Texans, we'll talk about the first game, the Texans and the Chargers, they beat them 32-12. And my goodness, Justin Herbert, you laid a goose egg. You laid an absolute goose egg. 32-12? 32-12. And you threw 4 interceptions? Man, Justin Herbert, I think he's a seriously talented quarterback, but his career has been terrible. It's just been for a star quarterback, for his expectations of where he's at in his NFL career as a star quarterback, it's been terrible. He's only been to the playoffs 2 times. He has 0 playoff wins. And that's what matters of being a star quarterback, is can you win when the games get brighter. And I challenge the people out there, what is Justin Herbert's biggest win of his career? What is his biggest win? I can't find one. He legitimately cannot find one. I cannot find a big win that he's ever had in his career. The playoffs, and not to mention, don't give me the talk, the Chargers weren't really supposed to make the playoffs this year and everything else. They were favored to win this game. The Chargers were favored to win this football game. So, Lamar McConkey, we can't really, excuse him that much because his receivers were bad. Although Quentin Johnson is awful, he can't catch a pass. But McConkey had 188 yards. He was balling. But Herbert, overthrew him on a deep post, right? Had just a few, questionable decisions. The play action rollout, throwing across your body just is never going to work. There was some where, the Will Disley one was not his fault, but that was a tough turnover. He was just bad. He was really bad. You just can't have those games in the playoffs, man. You can't lay goose eggs, and especially how they were favored to win this game. But I'm not trying to take away from the Texans' defense, because their defense is fantastic. I think they're such an underrated group. But man, it was just bad, dog. He played terrible. He played terrible, and he's just a what-if quarterback. A lot of people want to give him excuses because his team is terrible and the organization and whatnot. Dude, Jim Harbaugh is a great coach. Although they aren't seriously as talented as these other teams, they were favored to win this game. And I thought they were going to win this game. But you laid a goose egg, dude. Laid a goose egg. And now you're going home. You can't play like that in a playoff game. You just can't do it as a star quarterback, being where you are in this league and getting paid where you are in this league. You just can't have those games. Some other takeaways, I thought, the Texans, they did great defensively. Offensively, I still have some doubts. Their offensive line isn't very good. And I forgot to mention that in the last week's episode. Their offensive line is terrible. So many penalties. Their offensive line's a mess. But for the most part, I thought CJ, his ability to extend plays with his legs and give his team more opportunities with his legs was good to see. Nico Collins, man, love that guy. He's so good. I thought if you played a fully healthy season, I thought it had 1,500 yards. We'll get into the divisional game later, but as far as how the game went for them, I just thought their defense played exceptional. Their offense coasted by a little bit. Their and especially for Mixon too. So their offense is really relying on three guys: Stroud, Mixon, and Nico Collins. That's really it, because your offensive line stinks. But that's what you're gonna have to rely on in their next games. Um, I just thought their offense was mediocre, but their defense was able to get them that win. And moving on to the next game, the Ravens and the Steelers. There was a beatdown. The Ravens beat the Steelers 28-14. Game what expected, how everyone expected it, how we all chose and picked it. I thought Lamar didn't have to, necessarily put on his superhero cape for this game because they ran the ball 50 times. Derrick Henry absolutely eviscerated their defense. And did you see what he did to Minkah Fitzpatrick? Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Just put him he just absolutely stiff-armed him into oblivion. The Ravens, they're a sneaky team, man. I'm telling you. I think they're they're one of those teams that are peaking at the right time right now. And, their offense is really good. They're finally realizing that, hey, if we run the ball, maybe we'll have success in the playoffs instead of dropping back 50 times and trying to have Lamar carry us there isn't going to work. Sometimes you just need to, stop overthinking it. You have two Hall of Fame players on offense. Just run the ball. Run the ball. That's what they did. 50 attempts rushing, and the Steelers couldn't do a dang thing about it. Not a single thing they could do about it. Run the football. Run the football. And that's how you can have success in these playoffs. Offense didn't really have to do much. They were down Zay Flowers, but they didn't have to do much because they just ran the ball. Defensively, they did their thing. They just did their thing. But the Steelers offense is trash. Not to mention the Steelers, there's a lot of questions with them, with that franchise right now. A lot. Because this is they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. It's been over 8 years, 9 years since the last time they won a playoff game. And they've had winning seasons where they've either missed the playoffs or made the playoffs. But they haven't been able to win a playoff game. And I felt like they held on to Ben Roethlisberger for too long because he just wasn't the same guy as he was in 2015 or 16. They held him on for way too long. And they don't have a quarterback. They just don't have a quarterback. They don't have a long-term quarterback option. The past few years, they've been shuffling through quarterbacks to Wilson, Fields, Pickett, Mason Rudolph. Who was their quarterback in 21? Ben Roethlisberger, who was on the last bit of his legs. 22. Who was starting for them? It probably was Kenny Pickett, and then they just don't have a quarterback. So there's not they don't have. That's what they need. They need a franchise quarterback. And Russ, he had a few good games when he came off of the injury and started for the season. But after that, when they're on their losing streak, they were just bad, dude. It was bad. And they could say whatever they want. Well, we didn't have Pickens. Their offense still with Pickens looked terrible. So, and in this game, they looked terrible. Their offense looked terrible. They don't have another reliable receiver outside of Pickens. And Pickens, is he even reliable himself? He's severely undisciplined. He has severe antics on the sidelines and in press. Bro literally said, they said, do you have an optimistic in the offense going forward? He said, nah, that's crazy. He literally told his team and everybody out there's no way that this offense can get better in the future. Though Mike Tomlin, should there be some levels of, concern about his job, I don't think the Steelers will ever fire him. But, he has a no trade clause. So I'm sure if the Steelers fired him and moved on from him, who are you replacing for him? Two things can be true. I totally agree. The guy hasn't been able to win in the postseason. And it's been a while since he's done it. Two things can be true. But on the other side, it's who are you going to replace? Who are you replacing him? Because the guy, all he does is just have success and winning. I think he just needs a quarterback. He needs a long-term quarterback. I think that's what he needs. Russ had, but when they were in their losing streak, their offense was garbage. It was garbage. I don't know. Do you move on from him? Maybe, potentially, but it's who are you going to replace? So I think his job security is definitely lowering as each season. But the Steelers have never been on record for firing a head coach. They never did it with him. They never did it with Bill Cowser. They never did it with the coach in the 70s. He's blanking my name, but then the name will come up on the screen. So they've never been able to do it. Never been able to fire a head coach. He's got to, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what the Steelers are going to do. It's a mess over there. A lot of questions. My thing is their ultimate goal, I think, if they want to kickstart this thing back up again, they need a franchise quarterback. Wherever way you can get one, through trading for one, through drafting one, that should be the priority. And honestly, this draft class for quarterbacks is not the greatest. So, in the market out there, they just need a franchise quarterback. Should they run back with Russ? No, don't do that. They should not run it back with Russ. But the Steelers lose and their season is over. We all saw it coming. Everyone saw it coming. They lost 5 straight. So, and the Bills, the next game, the Bills absolutely beat down the Broncos. Well, the Broncos in this game, I thought they had a nice drive in the first quarter when they had the long pass when Bo Nix aired it out to Troy Franklin, which was nice. I was like, we may have a game here. After that, they did virtually nothing. They were just completely outmatched and they offered virtually nothing. They just played offensively. Their game plan was really conservative, and defensively, they just couldn't hold them forever. So if your offense isn't going to do anything, the defense isn't going to hold on forever. And Josh Allen, that 4th and 1 play, man, that was just Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things. He threw it to the back of the end zone to his backup running back, who made a sliding grab catch. I just think the Broncos were just playing to just be happy that we're in the playoffs. They haven't been in the playoffs in over like 10 years, so I think they were just happy to be there. But they have a nice future, though. They finally have a quarterback. I'm telling you, when you have a franchise quarterback, you can start to win. And that's what happens when you have continuity and a long-term quarterback. Yeah, that's what happens. So you need a quarterback, and the Broncos have been searching one ever since Peyton had left, and they finally found one. They made the playoffs this year. Their game plan was really conservative. They didn't really do anything after the touchdown. And they have the quarterback coach duo with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. So if you continue to build on that, you'll have more success in the playoffs. Though they were just completely outmatched. Their defense tried everything. They held them to 10 points in the first half, and to an offense who's been statistically the number one scoring offense in the NFL this year. But the offense was very conservative, honestly. They just played a very conservative game, and they couldn't really do anything after they scored. So, hey, I just think they should just be happy that they're there, and continue to build in the offseason, build around Bo Nix and build around Sean Payton. That's what they should continue to do. And Buffalo, they played a great game in the second half. Their offense looked great. Their defense looked great. So nothing much to talk about that game. But this is the game Sunday. We played the Packers. My Birds. Go Birds, by the way. We played the Packers. We beat them 22-10. This game was very interesting, to say the least. I thought, we started off offensively. I thought, we started off great. Special teams be able to force a turnover on the opening play in the playoffs is something rare. And the fact that we were able to capitalize on it is great to see. Jalen's first game back in like 3 weeks. We played offensively a mediocre game. Offensively, we were mediocre. First quarter, we looked great. Second quarter, we were terrible. Beginning of the third quarter, we were terrible. And then after, when the Packers responded, that's when they were better in the third and fourth quarter. 2 things can be true in this situation. The passing game needs to be better. You cannot play that type of level of a game passing wise. And I'm talking about the passing game. It's not just Jalen Hurts. And I'll get to him in a second. It's not just Jalen Hurts. It's everybody. It's the receivers. It's the O-line. It's the coaches. It's Nick. It's Kellen Moore. It's the guys making the scheme. It's everybody. It's everybody. So they cannot play like that. They cannot play like that offensively in the passing game like that in a playoff game. That's not gonna win you a game against Detroit. Right? It's not going to, win you a game if you potentially make the Super Bowl. You're not going to be able to beat Detroit like that. I just don't think so. I don't think you're going to beat Detroit playing a passing game like that. But, right, you have something that no other team has, and that's Saquon Barkley and our offensive line. So teams have to virtually take out our running game, and it's easier said than done because our running game is our running scheme the past 3 years has been the best in the NFL, the best. Saquon Bart and I remember when people were saying that Saquon Barkley wasn't going to be great. He's getting older, he's washed, he isn't as good as he used to be. Dude, behind our line and with Stoutland University, Jeff Stoutland, the best position coach in the offense in the NFL, I know he's going to be great, but he exceeded my expectations. I thought he was going to get like 1,600, 1,700 yards. The man had over 2,000 and potentially could have broken the record, right? So don't break away from what you've been doing so well. Run the ball, run it down their throats, and trust your defense. And not to mention, and I'll get into the defense in a bit, this defense can win you a Super Bowl. This defense is so good, it could win you a Super Bowl. They're great at every position, at every group. Defensive line wise, they get to the quarterback, Nolan Smith, who's been coming onto his own, 2.5 sacks. Jalen Carter, who's all pro this year. Jordan Davis, who's been great this season, who's had probably the best season of his career. Milton Williams, who makes an impact. And Josh Sweat, who's been there for forever, right? The linebackers, sucks that Nakobe went down, man. Knee injury went down. He's probably the backbone of this whole defense, and he was the green dot. But you have a guy like Zach Bond, who was all pro this year. He was the best linebacker in the NFL this year. And then the secondary is the best in the league. Slay, Quinion, they both played fantastic on Sunday. And then you have CJ, Gardner Johnson, and Reed Blankenship, they've both been very good this season. You have a defense that can win you a Super Bowl. So you have a defense that can win you a Super Bowl, and you have a running game that can win you a Super Bowl. Why should we break off from that success? I understand the passing game needs to be better. No one is saying that it was not good. It wasn't this, and that. The passing game needs to be better. I totally agree with you in that. We should not have a single quarter where we're not completing a single pass. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, right? But on the flip side of this, with Jalen Hurts, why is he getting so much hate? I don't understand it. Why do I have to wake up in the morning and flip on to ESPN and Fox News and everything while they're saying, well, Jordan Love had 3 interceptions, which, by the way, he played terrible. He played terrible. I don't care how many receivers he was at. He played in the first half of the game when he had the receivers. He was terrible. When Justin Herbert threw 4 interceptions and he was terrible, why is the question of Jalen Hurts, the concern level with Jalen Hurts, this, and that? What's the situation with the NFL, with the playoffs, is turnovers can lose you a game. One single turnover can lose you a football game. And that's what happened to the Bucs. The Bucs, Baker Mayfield, and we'll get in that game in a little bit. He turned over the ball. He fumbled it on the exchange to Jalen McMillan on the sweep play. They fumbled it. Commanders get it back in the red zone. They score, and they didn't win the game. Herbert threw 4 picks. You're not going to overcome a 4-pick game. Jordan Love had 3 turnovers. The Packers had 4 turnovers. They weren't going to win a game where you have 4 turnovers in a playoff game. How many turnovers did the Eagles have? Oh, that's right, none. And they won. That's all that matters in the playoffs. The most important stat in the playoffs is not how many yards you throw, not how many touchdowns you throw, because there have been a lot of quarterbacks in this league in history that have had sensational, historic performances in the playoffs, and they've lost. Josh Allen has done it. Joe Burrow has done it. Multiple guys have had historic playoff games, and they've lost. So why does everybody have an issue when Jalen, coming back from 3 weeks, went 13 of 21, 130 yards? I understand that's, low passing yards. He threw 2 touchdowns, right? And we won. What's the issue? You won the game. So the Eagles shouldn't, focus on dropping back 40 times a game. A lot of people, that's so disrespectful to me, is every time when AJ Brown does something, the media and everybody takes it as he's disgruntled. He's frustrated. He's disgruntled. He even said it himself. He's like, why does everyone think I'm always frustrated? Like I'm just like he was reading a book, Inner Excellence on the sideline. First of all, he's done it multiple times this season. He did it against the Commanders, right? When he had like 15 targets and had 99 yards and a touchdown. He went off that game and he was reading the book on the sideline. Nobody had an issue with it now, but when the cameras caught him and we had one catch, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, look at this. The guy has to read a book to calm down because his quarterback isn't throwing him the ball. Like, you guys always find something, the media always finds something about this team. And for one point, I hope this team wins a Super Bowl so everyone looks back and they just go like this. When they just do this, when they just hush. So I can't wait for that. I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Why does it's so disrespectful? Like every time AJ Brown does something, they always think, man, he's disgruntled. He's reading a book. Who wasn't? I know we've never seen it before, but like, what's wrong with reading a book on inner excellence, on calming your mind and finding peace and balance? It's good for it's good for some people out there to find some peace and balance. All right. So if there's no rules that say that you can't read a book on the sidelines. There's no rules where you can't do it. The Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, has no problem with it. He's fine with it. What's the issue? See, always trying to find something with this team. Always. Always, always, always. And Jalen Hurts, if he's gonna have games like that where he has 2 touchdowns and 140 yards, right? And the team wins because their running game was so great and the defense played lights out. That's fine with me. Winning, we won. That's all I care about. But the passing game does need to be better. We do need to find our receivers involved in more. We do need to find our receiver. We need to get into a rhythm in the first quarter for sure to start off the game for sure. But you can definitely say the passing game was out of sync. You could definitely say the passing game was out of rhythm because they haven't played with each other for a while. But to have a game like that where your offense can play mediocre and you were still able to win because your defense was awesome and the special teams was awesome, I'll take that any day. I'll take that any day. I'll take that any day, man. Packers, your season is over. You're going fishing. You're going on vacation. You're going to Cancun. You guys suck. So, go Birds. The next game, the Commanders played the Bucks, and man, Jaden Daniels. Look, the Commanders have my level of hatred has gone a little bit up, as I've said previously, but that boy is the truth. Jaden Daniels is the truth, man. I mean, in the fourth quarter, talk about Mr. Fourth Quarter. That guy, if there was clutch player of the year in the NFL this year, he'd probably win it. He was so good in this game. They beat them 22-20. He had like 200 passing yards, 250 passing yards, had 2 touch. Every time he gets to the fourth quarter, that's when he shines. And when you have a quarterback like that, that's something you want to have. You want to have a quarterback that shows up when the lights turn on the brightest. And that was not Baker Mayfield. He did not. He pooped his pants when the lights turn on the brightest. I mean, he had a great game, but dude, you can't have a fumble on exchange in a close game like that in the fourth quarter when your defense made a stop on 4th and goal. You can't do it. You just can't do it. You can't have those turnovers. He's the truth, man. That boy's the truth. He's the truth. They played a great game offensively. They played a great game. Their defense is still a little bit mediocre, I would say. I'm not saying they're fantastic. Lattimore, I don't really know why they really traded for him, to be honest. I thought Lattimore got absolutely outworked. He got worked by Mike Evans. I was really excited for that matchup, but Mike Evans, he put him in a blender all game, and Lattimore has kind of been put on a blender when he's been with the Commanders. AJ Brown did it to him. I don't care what Commanders fans say. AJ Brown cooked him. Mike Evans cooked him. And he's been dealing with a hamstring injury. I don't know what they gave up for him, but I don't think he's going to be back with the team next year. I think they've kind of realized that he just hasn't been really good and he's been injured. Commanders, great win. And that's what you see with a franchise like that. They've been in the dumpster for years, man. years. They had to change their name. They had to change their franchise name, for crying out loud. But when you have good ownership with Josh Harris, the owner of the Sixers and now the Commanders, and his group with Magic and everyone, when they hired the right people, Adam Peters, hired the right coach, Dan Quinn, and getting the right getting a quarterback, everything can change. Everything can change. I'm telling you. And they just stepped out of the way. The ownership, they stepped out of the way. Now, for some other teams, we'll get into later, they don't do that, but they stepped out. The credit to them. They stepped out of the way. And now that they have a quarterback, they're going to have a lot of money in the offseason to build around him because he's a rookie, by the way, on a rookie contract. So you're able to get some pieces for him and spend money because he's on a rookie contract. And they made the playoffs. They have a great offensive play caller in Cliff Kingsbury, too. Great. It's good to see for them and they were able to finally win a playoff game. They haven't won one in over 30 years. So it's good for them. I gotta, tip my cap because I'm an Eagles fan, but I tip my cap to them because, they were in a dumpster fire for years. And now that they finally got the right people in that franchise, it's good to see, man. It's good to see for them for sure. And I love the competition. I love the game. I love the competition. I can't wait for our divisional games will get more interesting now because I like the competition. And there'll be more competition than the Dallas Cowboys because, they suck, obviously. And then the final game, the Rams beat the Vikings. I had the Rams winning this. I think I originally had the Vikings winning this game, but in my mind, I switched it because I just, Sam Darnold just absolutely he pooped his pants. He pooped his pants so bad that the poop was running down his leg and is going down his leg. That's how much he pooped. He pooped his pants. And he was playing and he barfed everywhere. I mean, my goodness, the Rams sacked him over 9 times. It was like I think it was over like negative 84 total yards of the amount with the sacks that he took. That's insane. But he was awful. He was terrible. He held on to the ball. It's way too long. That looked like Jets, Sam Darnold. He came back down to earth. I mean, the man was on cloud 9. He was in heaven. He was on top of everything, right? He's like, oh man, I'm about to get paid, everything. They dropped him straight back to earth. Like he was playing in New Jersey. He looked like he was playing in the Meadowlands again. East Rutherford at MetLife. In that playoff game. That's how bad he looked against the Rams. And they ran the same game plan that Aaron Glenn did. They just blitzed him. They blitzed him with their front four. The Rams front four is really good. That young front four is really, really good. And their offensive line could not hold up. And not to mention, he held onto the ball way too long. That's what he does. That's what Sam Darnold does. He holds onto the ball way too long. They sped him up. He was playing broken. He was playing like shattered glass. He was playing. I heard somebody say like, "Wow, Sam Darnold was playing drunk. Like he played that game like he was drunk, like he was puking everywhere." I mean, he played so bad. It looked like he had to get his stomach pumped. That's how bad Sam Darnold played that game. Their season is over. It's what the Vikings always do. It is what they always do. They have a great regular season. I'm like, oh, wow, they can make some noise in the playoffs. They can win a Super Bowl, right? They went 14-3 for absolutely nothing. They didn't even win a playoff game. Wow. And they were first round exits. Wow. That's crazy. They're definitely moving on from him. I don't see the Vikings paying him. I really don't. I think he lost a lot of money these past 2 weeks, man. He potentially could have been like a 45, potentially $50 million quarterback because he had such a great season. He went from like the $30 million range. That was how bad he played, man, in these past 2 weeks. That's how bad he played. But the Rams, they had a great game plan. Chris Shula had a great game plan, and McVay, I mean, their offense did what they did. They did their thing. It wasn't a offense. Their offensive game wasn't anything spectacular, but they did what they had to do. Offensively, they did enough, and they were able to get the win. But their defense played fantastic, man. And we're gonna move on to my next segment. The NFL divisional games this upcoming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And we'll take a look at each game and each prediction. The Chiefs play the Texans in Arrowhead. This game, I think the Chiefs are going to win this pretty comfortably. They have their offensive there's not even their offensive starters. The starters on the whole team, They haven't played since Christmas, and that was over like 3-4 weeks ago. They haven't played in a while, so maybe that can let room to some level of concern to the team, to everyone out in the league. But I just think that they've been here before. The team has been here before. Look, guys, they're on a quest for a three-peat, so they've been there before. Andy Reid's been there before, so I don't really have any concerns with that. The Texans are coming into this game hobbled. They're playing in Arrowhead, one of the toughest environments in football, and especially playoff Patrick Mahomes. You can never doubt him. You can never discredit him, and you can never look past him when it comes to the playoffs, and especially Travis Kelce too. So they turn it on when it comes to the playoffs. I'm going with the Chiefs in this one, 27-17. I think it'll be close. In the first half, you're like, oh, the Chiefs could be on upset alert. But then they lock in the second half because, they haven't played in a while. But, and especially how the Texans defense is really good. I think the Chiefs still win this one, 27-17, and they get to Arrowhead Invitational. Commanders and the Lions, same thing. The Lions haven't played. They had a bye week. They had the first overall seed, and they get the bye week. This is the game that could potentially, you look like, maybe the Commanders could put them on upset alert because they've been so good in the fourth quarter. I don't really think so. I think the Lions dominate this game because the Commanders' defense isn't all that great, to be honest. And the Lions are probably getting some guys back they're getting some guys back for their playoff run. I think the Lions will win this game 31-20. Jaden Daniels is really good, but this is where, kind of ends right here. The Lions are, they're hunting for a trophy, and they haven't been one ever. And they've never won one, ever. I don't even think they've ever hosted an NFC Championship game. Have they? I don't even think they have. So they're definitely fighting for that right. And I just don't think the Commanders are going to come in there and beat them. I could be totally wrong. The Lions could play the worst game of their season and the Commanders win. That's the playoffs. I'm going with the Lions though, 31-20. And then the next game, we play the Rams. I'm excited for this one. A lot of Rams fans, not Rams fans, a lot of Eagles fans are very optimistic in this game. Me personally, I'm just like, well, it's the playoffs. Anything could happen in the playoffs, and with anything in the past, we could lose this game completely. We could play the worst game of the season and lose. I can't discredit I know we played them early in the season, and Saquon had a ridiculous night, a career night, and a historic game. Had 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And 2 long touchdowns. But I can't, overlook the Rams. It's Matthew Stafford. He's been in these games before. McVay's been in these games before. Their front four is great. Defensively, they've been very good. Their defense has been really good as of late. I think we're the last game that they've allowed more than 30 points. So we have to play a complete game offensive. We have to play a complete game if we want to win this game. I do think we win because we're more talented than them. We have better players than them. And we have the home field advantage because we're playing in Philly in the cold weather. They have to come on cross country flight on the East Coast, and they're on a short week. So I do think we win, but I'm just saying, we have to play not down to the competition, but we have to respect our opponent. If you respect your opponent, you'll win the game. I think we win this game. I think we win 27-20. I think, they score like a garbage time touchdown. It'll be like 27-13. They score a garbage time touchdown. We get an onside kick. We kneel that thing down. We win. So I think that's what the game will be. And yeah, this one, the final game of the divisional round, which could potentially be game of the year. 2 NFL MVP candidates going at it. The Ravens and the Bills. Lamar Jackson, Lamarvelous, going up against Josh Allen. I'm definitely be excited. Hopefully this game will be not stressful for me, or I'm not extremely for this game because if the Eagles lose somehow. But everybody will be watching this game. This is potentially career defining for both of these quarterbacks. One quarterback will lose this game and have more playoff concerns and questions, and one will be the hero of his franchise, of his team, and of his, potentially define his career in the postseason. And it's so tight that the betting line is -1 for the Ravens, I believe. That's how close it is. I'm going with it's a toss up, man. I think it's going to come down to the wire. But, the Bills' offense has been very good this year. So have the Ravens. But I'm going to go with the Ravens, though. I think this game redefines Lamar Jackson's career in the postseason. I think it does. Because everybody, knows that he hasn't played well in his postseason career. I think this game redefines it. I think this game redefines it. I really do. I really think this game redefines it because he has, he needs this game. I love Lamar Jackson. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. I think they win this game 20-27. One thing, they have to run the ball. Keep Josh Allen off the field. Keep him off the field, right? Keep their offense off the field. Run the ball, run it down their throats. I think their run defense has been very good this season. And when their run defense isn't good, it sets up the passing game. Mark Andrews, likely, Bateman, who's been really solid this year. Lamar should just go into this game saying, don't try and do too much. Because that's why he hasn't been good in the postseason. He tries to do too much, right? So I'm going with the Ravens. I think they win this game. If he plays this game like Lamar does, not trying to do too much, taking what the defense gives him, they're going to win. And the Bills will go home. Sad. Another postseason heartbreaker. Again. Are we surprised? No. And this game, does it determine the MVP? No, it doesn't, because the MVP is a regular season award. But we'll get into the MVP talks later. But the Ravens will win this game. I think this will be the game of the year. But the Ravens win. And then my next segment, the national championship game. The national championship game is in Atlanta. Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Two elite programs. This is not going to be like a long segment, but I think the Ohio State will win this game because they've been the best team in the country all season. They've absolutely locked in after Michigan, and I just think they win this game because they have the best roster in the country. They've been playing like it the past few weeks. Thank you, finally. And I think I love Marcus Freeman. Look, guys, I used to hate Notre Dame. Growing up, I hated Notre Dame. Hated them. But when they've had Marcus Freeman and as their head coach, he's made them likable. There's been times that I've actually rooted for Notre Dame to win. I rooted for them to win against Penn State, even though True Allen's terrible. I root for them to win against Georgia. I root for them against Indiana because I like Marcus Freeman. I like him. I really do. And he's a black coach. It could be the first black coach to win a national championship, especially at Notre Dame. That'd be crazy, and that would bring a lot of success to him, and I hope he gets it. But I just think Ohio State they're just more talented, man. Offensively, defensively. Jack Shore, man, had a strip sack, 7-yard touchdown on when the Texas was at the 1 yard line. At the 1 yard line, looking for a touchdown. That to me, after I saw that play, I'm like, dude, there's no way Ohio State doesn't win the national championship. They were at the 1 yard line, and Jack Shore, and then they ended up having a touchdown for Ohio State. It was just crazy. And my next subject, LeBron. LeBron James is 40 years old, and he's playing at a high level. He's the GOAT. The greatest of all time. His longevity and consistency has been absolutely insane. Like 30-point triple-doubles at 40 years old. Who's doing that? He's the greatest basketball player of all time. The greatest. There's no way you can look past that and say he's not the greatest of all time. Though the Lakers, they're terrible. And they're not like bad, but their defense sucks, dude. I'm watching games. Their defense is terrible. They lost by 20 to the Spurs recently. Their defense is terrible. But LeBron at 40, man, it's a blessing to watch him play. Because at 40 years old, there's no guy at 40 years old that can consistently score 20 plus points a game. Like he even said to himself, like if I could really play another 5 to 7 more years, but he won't do that, obviously. Man, it's just crazy, man. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time. And another basketball subject, and I try to keep this like, NFL, NBA, and other sports. I could do baseball as well. But the Cavs, they've been very, very good this year. They have the number 1 seed, about 34, I believe. 34 and maybe 7 or 8, I believe. Or I may be wrong. But I know they have plus 30 wins. And my friend, he's a big time Cavs fan. we've been discussing about, and especially in the media, discussing this Cavs team being compared to the 2015 Warriors. Now, at first, I thought it was like, you're crazy. But the comparison isn't all that, like, crazy. They have a superstar player, Donovan Mitchell. I guess Steph Curry is that superstar player for them as well. And then, no, I guess, yes. Klay Thompson and Darius Garland. I'm not really seeing that comparison. But because Klay Thompson at that time was better than Darius Garland, you have their deep team with their bench, same with the Warriors, and the comparison too also with Evan Mobley and Draymond Green, because Kenny Atkinson, it comes from the Steve Kerr system, so he runs the team like how the Warriors played back then, and it kind of does make a lot of sense. Evan Mobley isn't Draymond Green, but he has there are some they're comparable. They're comparable. Can the Cavs win a championship? Potentially, they can make it. I think it's between them and Boston, and New York to come out the East. They've been very good, and they beat the Thunder. That was the biggest game of their season for them. So, yeah, I think they're a really good team, and they can come out the East. And for my final segment of this, show today, talking about the NFL MVP. Who is the NFL MVP in my opinion? It's really between either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. These two have had phenomenal years this year, but in my opinion, the NFL MVP this year is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has had, to me, the best season of anybody in this league this year. The guy has over 40 plus passing touchdowns. His touchdown interception ratio is like 40-4. Has over like 900 rushing yards. His team was 12-5 this year. They won in a hard division. The AFC East is terrible, right? And I'm not trying to take away from Josh Allen's season. I thought Josh Allen had a phenomenal season this year. He didn't even have to play football the final like 3-4 weeks of the season, right? But he had a ridiculous elite season, but I think Lamar Jackson was better. I think he was just better. And a lot of people saying like, well, what about Derrick Henry though? He has a lot of Pro Bowlers in this. Like, Lamar Jackson elevated those guys this year. Bateman had the best season of his career because of Lamar Jackson, right? And same with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had one of the best seasons of his career this year. Not saying it was the best, one of the best. Rejuvenated his career the past 3 years because he was on a decline the past 2 years with Tennessee. That was because of Lamar Jackson. When you watch the Ravens on tape and their running game on tape, Lamar Jackson is partially the reason why Derrick Henry's lanes are so big. And they, on either a play action, you see the backers, the linebackers, and the safeties come up to Lamar Jackson, and they leave the running lanes wide open. The touchdown against the Steelers was read option play. Bro, the defenders all took Lamar faced like 3 defenders, took the linebacker, took the safety, even took the corner, and Derrick Henry had a wide open 40-yard touchdown. Lamar's impact is better than Josh Allen's. Yes, he had a 1,000-yard receiver for the first time. He had made a 1,000-yard receiver and a Pro Bowl receiver for the first time in like over 30 years for the Ravens. They're going to be on a playoff run this year. And I just thought he had the best statistical season of anybody, had the most impact, and he was just better than Josh Allen in everything. He was a better player than Josh Allen. Better player, dude. I'm not saying I'm taking away from Josh. Two sides, both sides can be true. Josh Allen had less talent to work with, and people were saying that they were going to be on a decline because they lost Diggs and they lost Davis, and lost a bunch of players, and they weren't picked to win the division, which is crazy. But, and he didn't have a lot to work with, and he still was able to have a 13-win season and had, phenomenal stats. But I just think Lamar was better. Both quarterbacks are elite. Really elite. But Lamar was better. And now, for my final segment of the show, the top 5 of the week. Every topic, every subject is different with these top 5 of the week. But here are my top 5 of the week, and this time the subject is cities that I've been to. These are top 5 cities that I've been to in my life, in America, by the way. I've been to a lot of different cities in the U.S., but these are my top 5 would be, at number 5, my first one And you could say that, oh well, how can you say this city is better than this city? Could potentially I've never been to one of those cities before. But at number five, I would say Kansas City is number five. Number five is coming out in Kansas City. I think Kansas City is an underrated American city because they're not very big, right? They're a smaller city, but the vibe was great, man. The people there, they love their Chiefs. It's a great sports town. And I think Chiefs fans are fantastic. I think Chiefs fans are really nice people. They're really cool, nice people. They love their Chiefs. Even before when they had Patrick Mahomes, they've been an excellent fan base, really nice, and they support their team to the fullest. I've had some great interactions with Chiefs fans. When I was in Kansas City, I was wearing my Eagles hat, and I thought I was gonna get some flack, but they were chill. They were nice. They were like, man, the game could have gone either way with the Super Bowl, but we didn't win. They have arguably, I think they have the best barbecue in the world. The barbecue that we had there was phenomenal. It was great. I thought it was really cool. It's a really cool, nice downtown place where they have good barbecue and they love their Chiefs. Yeah. Number four, New Orleans. New Orleans has great culture, Mardi Gras, great dancing city, great music, very good food, and once again, they love their Saints. Just, I think New Orleans is, historically one of those great cities. The Super Bowl will be there this year. Hopefully my Eagles are there. But, I think the food there was also phenomenal when I was there. And it's just great culture, great city to be in, because I think it's just really cool. And everybody, seems to love each other there. So I would love New Orleans. So I'm going New Orleans at 4. At number 3, I'm going with San Diego. Now, San Diego is kind of an interesting one at 3. You're like, wow, San Diego at 3? San Diego has amazing weather. Some of the best weather I've ever been in. It's like 70 degrees. It's not hot. It's not cold. It's just right at perfect California weather, right? Where you're not dripping in sweat, but you're not cold. It's like 74, 75, 76 degrees. They have great beaches. The food, the steak tacos, where the tacos there we had were amazing. Went to a Padres game and it was just great game. Great. It was a great environment. Would love to go back, but too expensive for me. At number 2, Chicago. Chicago, when I was there, Chicago in the summertime is really cool. I know in the wintertime it's probably brutal. And the fall it's probably brutal. And when the Windy City, the nickname is true to they're true to its nickname because it was there in the summertime in August. The wind was pushing in, but I think Chicago was really cool. We were on Lake Michigan and we're walking Lake Michigan. It was great view, great skyline. The food was good. I just like the vibe of the city was great, and it was a good city. It was really cool at the time. The north side of Chicago. It's not very busy. It's not like New York or LA where it's very busy, very traffic wise. And it was just cool. It was just cool to be in Chicago. So I go into Chicago number 2 and number 1. I mean, obviously New York, city that never sleeps. You can do anything, and you could do anything in New York. So you baseball, as you can see, sports games, food, plays, events, you name it. I think it's the best time to go Christmas time. And I think it's the greatest city in the world. It's the biggest city in the world. You can do anything, and you can do anything you want, and you can get different food cultures from Chinatown to barbecue to steak, burgers, whatever. It's just there. There's so many options with New York City, and it's fun to go whenever you're there. And that is going to do it for another episode of Timeout with Makali. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment down below. What do you guys think of this episode? And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.